level of racing that he's achieved is extremely rare.
Matoli's a monster! Matoli wins the sprint! Oh, what a horse he is! The mighty Matoli!
Ciao tutti. Welcome back to the show that never ends. Past the Wire TV, we've got the Lecomte by the Thorograph numbers and patterns. Probably, well, certainly in my opinion, the deepest and most interesting of the at least 3-year-old Kentucky Derby prep and point races thus far. I think it's an interesting race, and you've got a couple of horses in here that can develop. We'll see what the Thorograph numbers have to say about that in a minute, but I will say this. Last week, the Las Flores, I think we did, that was on me with Mark Glatt's horse. You know, when we used to do these shows, we only did the Thorograph numbers and patterns. And on the Thorograph numbers, she was certainly fast enough to win. And we talked about that. And you know, what I did was I overthought it. I overthought it because when we went to the high-level look at the past performances and she was just coming out of that maiden race, I kind of discounted her and went for the other horses that I thought, you know, would have an edge because they had been running against winners. And I generally have a little bit of a reluctance to go after horses that you know, have just broke their maiden. But you know, sometimes you get those light bulb type races where the light bulb, you know, goes off. They put it together, and it is what it is. So that one was on me. You know, I just called it wrong, and that will happen. It wasn't the numbers that were wrong. It was my calling them that way. But hey, we'll try and do better this time. So hang tight. We'll be right back with the Thorograph numbers and patterns. And yes, we will do a high-level look at the past performances because this race certainly deserves it. And obviously, it's got Derby potential. So, yeah.
You're watching Past the Wire TV.
You know, somebody brought up to me the other day, I think in one of the comments on the channels or an email or a text, whatever it was, that the races with few starts and less numbers are much more difficult than the races with a lot of numbers. And I certainly see the logic of that, but I don't agree with it because when you look at, and I'm going to use this as an example because it'll be here before you know it, the Derby will be gone and everybody be heading up to Saratoga. The Saratoga stake races, where you've got a bunch of horses that ran once or twice, the 2-year-old stake races I'm talking about, the Schuylerville, the Spinaway, the Hopeful, the Saratoga Special, those races. I love the Thorograph numbers and patterns in those races as much as anything. So, you know, with that, I can't agree with that statement. I've got to say no. I like them in those races as well. So we'll see what happens. Let's get into the Lecomte and see if we can go through this in a relatively reasonable period of time, and I think we can. First one we got Brad Cox. We know Louisiana Fairgrounds, and I will tell you this: if there's ever a track that I had to say I can't win at, it's Fairgrounds. I just never have any luck at that racetrack. Just don't. I don't want to get into any stories or any bullshit like that, but it's always been a tough track for me. Never ever get a break there. So I'm not due. I'm overdue and then some at the Fairgrounds. So, and I hardly play it anymore. I'll be honest. I play, you know, Lecomte Day, Risen Star Day, Louisiana Derby Day, and even then, less than I might at other racetracks because I just never get lucky. Quality Mischief from the rail, Brad Cox. First start at 3, which is going to be a common theme here, considering it's going to be the run on January 17th, I think. Quality Mischief at 2, 23.5, 21, 7 1/4. That looks like drastic improvement when this horse went from Indiana to the fairgrounds. So certainly coming in the right way. Numbers going the right way, but that's a big jump forward. Now, we always talk about the good ones going past their best 2-year-old number, first time at 3. That's a big jump. I want to see what this one does off that big jump. Normally, those kind of jumps are a little bit indicative of a regression or bounce. And another thing, just to go back to the Las Flores, somebody else asked me about, and I talked about this on the show, but they might have missed the second half of the show, but they asked me about, I think the filly's name was Thermal, John Sadler's filly, why I thought that she would likely regress or might regress off her fast number when it was on dirt. Let me tell you something. When a horse makes a big forward move, okay, it really doesn't matter what the surface is. Big forward move, fast number, much faster than they've run before, much faster than they've run recently, can lead to a regression or a bounce regardless of what the surface is. There's always that possibility that they like that surface better, but you still may get that little bit of regression. So I hope that answers that gentleman's question. Carson Street, Brendan Walsh, another one. Obviously, they're all going to probably be first-time 3-year-old. What we got? We got 4 starts, 15.5, 12.5, 12.5, 12.5. I love the steadiness that this colt is showing. That's always a flag for me that they're sitting on a forward move. And I would say this one's probably sitting on a forward move at 3 and probably going to go past the 12.5, 2, 3, 4 points. Probably the 8 range would be my guess. Crown the Buckeye, Mike Maker. This one's already run fast. 18, 8 3/4, 7 1/4, 9 1/4. So we got the forward progression off the first race, expected, nice jump forward, went forward again, but then regressed a little bit. Might bounce back, but I'm not in love with the pattern. I'm not in love with coming in off that regression and running back relatively quickly off it. Exosum, Kelsey Danner, 2 starts at 2, 27, 11.5. That was at Keeneland in October. So this one's coming in fresh with a forward pattern. I tend to think this one's very likely to go forward again as well. Golden Tempo, Sherry DeVoe. We got a 10, first time out at the fairgrounds. Now running back quick off that 10. Fast race, fast number, certainly can go forward. Thunder Buck, 14 1/4, 9. Definitely going the right way. Brad Cox, first-time 3-year-old. You have to like that. Mesquite. And it'll be interesting when we get to the past performances because I took a little look here, so I know a little bit about what we're going to see. But Mesquite, paired 12s, 12, 12. And I would have thought those races would have come back with better numbers based off watching them, but they didn't. And like I always say, the numbers don't lie. So we got, those paired 12s. Now, that said, does look like a horse that's going to go forward, but might have a little bit more work to do and have to go forward more than some of the others. So let's see where that leads us. White Tiger. White Tiger went the wrong way. White Tiger ran huge first time out. 6.5. That's a really, fast debut. But then regressed to a 12. Now comes in somewhat fresh. I would say can go either way. Can certainly bounce back. And if he does, bounce back and go past that 2-year-old number fresh, absolutely one of the major players in here, and maybe even the one to beat. But not a sure thing by any stretch of the imagination. And again, I don't like them. I much prefer a clear cut forward pattern than a, probably going to bounce back after a regression type of pattern. Ocelli, we got nice paired 10s, 10 3/4, then another 10. Churchill Downs and Fairgrounds now comes back quick. Running this horse, pretty steady, pretty fast. 3 races since late November into mid-January is going to be interesting. So I think if that doesn't take a toll on him, he's another one that can certainly go forward. Stop the Car. Stop the Car might have the best pattern in the race. Stop the Car 13 3/4, then goes to a 6 3/4. Very fast race. So really went forward. I believe that was on the stretch out. Now I think gets 2 turns. If the other race wasn't 2 turns, was a mile. We'll know that in a minute when we look at the past performances. But this horse can finish and run fast. And if he goes past that 6 3/4, absolutely the one to beat, and maybe the best finisher in the race. And that's never a bad thing at Fairgrounds with that stretch that never ends. Chip Honcho has a little bit maybe Z pattern kind of developing. We've got 8 1/4, 10, 7 1/2. So real fast first time out, regressed, and then bounced back. I tend to think the Z pattern will hold up, and he regressed a little bit off the fast race. He's done it once, and now I think there's a good chance we see him do it twice. So let's get into the PPs for this race and see if they give us any clarity on what we're dealing with. Hopefully better than last time, when they certainly didn't. And again, that I have to say was on me, not on the past performances. I just read that wrong, and that could happen, and it did. So what are you gonna do? I'll try to be better this time. Okay. We got a mile and a 16th, around 2 turns at the Fairgrounds, grade 3. I think it's 20 Kentucky Derby points. Doesn't really matter. It's a point race. We know that. Quality Mischief comes from off the pace, lost to Crown to Bucky and Chip Honcho last time out. This is the one that got a lot better when he went from Indiana to the Fairgrounds, and went from maiden to stake. He's got the rail. He looks okay. I mean, he fits kind of off the gun runner. He was only beating a length, but he's just got that kind of look to me where somebody's going to be better than him. He doesn't have that, jump out at you kind of look. He isn't into mischief. We know what Into Mischief does, but with his offspring, but I don't know, not sold. Carson Street, getting back to what we talked about earlier, this is one that just broke his maiden, but he certainly did it the right way. He did it stalking a sloppy pace at the Fairgrounds and drew off to win by 11 lengths. Interestingly, Ben Curtis, who rode him and win by 11 lengths, rides a different horse in the race for the same trainer. So it's not often you see a rider jump off a horse that he won with by 11, even in a maiden, going into a stake. Generally, riders will stick with a horse they win by the length of the stretch with, but apparently he's not. So he gets Concepcion, who can ride. He lost in a maiden race to Mesquite. It's noted that win by 11 lengths was with Lasix in the slop. In Louisiana, it's always New Orleans, always eligible to rain, but I don't think it's supposed to on Saturday. But nonetheless, moving from a maiden into a stake, slop, losing Lasix, not for me. Crown the Buckeye, Mike Maker, and what could you say? This guy can always win. He's just, his horses are diversified. He's diversified, and they pop up sometimes when you don't think they will. This one is an Ohio bred, has run at the fairgrounds, show speed, got beat by Chip Honcho in the gun runner, but ran a heck of a race that day. It was very tough, was only 2-1, fought the whole way. Should certainly be part of the pace. Good enough to hold these off with that long fairground stretch, getting a little bit tougher? I think not. Exosum. Exosum is that Kelsey Dana horse that we thought the pattern was very interesting. Now, what do we see? We see the layoff from August to October got a lot better, but we see a sloppy track at Keeneland, off the turf race at 18-1, 80-1 the time before that. You're going to have to prove it to me. Golden Tempo, Sherry DeVoe. This is the one that ran really fast first time out, stretching out, curling, out of Carumba, bred to run all day, but now stretches out and goes 2 turns for the first time. If he takes to it, absolutely a contender. I generally lean to a speed horse stretching out the 2 turns the first time as opposed to an off-the-pace sprinter. Sometimes they just don't have that same punch and kick the first time they go around 2 turns. But this one looks very interesting. He's 8-1 on the morning line, and he does look interesting. I like Carumba. Phipps, homebred, along with Vinny Viola, St. Elias Stables. So this horse is bred to be a runner, was 5-2 first time out. Does lose Lasix, does have to go 2 turns. Obstacles. Thunderbuck, the other Brad Cox horse. This one really improved a lot on the stretch out. This one went from Keeneland, where he closed a little bit going sprinting, but got beat 10 lengths, added Lasix, stretched out, went off a weak favorite at 3-1, gun runner out of an oxbow man, but really ran a nice race at the fairgrounds under Luis Saez to break his maiden, going away, a little bit of a wide trip. Definitely looks like the kind of horse that could step up into a spot like this. Mesquite. Jose Ortiz rode that one twice, goes to the other one for Sherry DeVoe. This one gets Pratt, so no loss there, but he's got to like the other one better. Not that jockeys are not often wrong about these things, but Mesquite, what did we say? We said that we thought those 2 races would come back better than the 12. And neither one did. He's got those paired 12, so I think he can go forward, and he's already been a route of ground around 2 turns. But again, I think he's got more to do than some of the others. White Tiger, he's got that monster first race, but interesting, he runs second that day to Englishman, I believe another Brad Cox horse. He was 4-1 into Englishman. And then the race when he got the lesser number and tailed, he still won, and won with pressure. Interesting horse. Should be sitting a good trip, and I think a major contender here. Ocelli. Ocelli's a maiden, putting blinkers on. I don't want a maiden here. And if I did, it would have to be somebody that looked really special and really interesting. Now you get to a horse I find really interesting, and I liked him on the Thorograph, and I think he's even more interesting when I combine that with the past performances. Stop the Car. First time out, he breaks his maiden sprinting from off the pace at Keeneland in a maiden claimer, but it's $150,000 maiden claimer, so odds that he's going to get claimed out of that race are maybe slim and none, or slim and slight, if not none. Was 7-1 that day, wins, stretches out, finishes strong again, a mile and 1:35.1 off 1:10, 6 furlongs, 45.5. This horse finished good, 16-1 cleared, has not run on Lasix, so not losing Lasix. I think this horse is going to be running at the end and maybe running as good or better than anybody at the end of this race. And this is the one that Ben Curtis jumps on for Brendan Walsh. So much for that, maiden $150,000 claiming angle. I don't think it means a thing in this spot. Chip Honcho, the gun runner winner, over the track. Very logical in here. He's got the 11 hole, not ideal. Kind of stalks, should be stalking with Paco out on the outside. Can he repeat? Absolutely. But I think he enjoyed a perfect trip, perfect scenario. Everything went right for him in the gun runner. He's got some other horses to face here that look a little bit better than the ones he faced there. So I'm going to give him a bet against vote for me anyway. Now remember, Thoragraphs, you can get them for free. The Pass the Wire race of the week is the Lecomte this week. Why wouldn't you get them for free? You can get them right on Thorograph.com. You could use the links on PassTheWire.com to Thorograph and get them. Why not? That makes all the sense in the world. And they're available before we do these shows too. You could just, check on Thursday of that week and see what the race of the week is for the Pass the Wire show, and the Thorograph link will be there for you. So free Thorograph numbers for these races. Why not? So, for me, I lean to Stop the Car. White Tiger, very dangerous. Golden Tempo, somewhat of a question mark, but dangerous. But to me, those are the two that I'm looking at, and I'm looking at that based off the past performances and the Thorograph. So when we look at the Thorographs back to them, love the pattern on Stop the Car, love the 13-6, think he's going to go forward first time as a 3-year-old. White Tiger, he's got that 6. He tailed, but after looking at the past performances, that was a win. He did what he had to do, so I tend to think he's going to go, forward again. Going to Golden Tempo, he's got that 10 fast race, but he's got those obstacles that we talked about. And those are really the ones that are for me. If I wind up betting a pick 4 or pick 5 at the dreaded fairgrounds, the two that I would use are Stop the Car and White Tiger. And I'd probably lean heavier on Stop the Car because I think he finishes well in that long fairground stretch. I think he might be able to grind them down and get up late at what should be a very, very, very fair price. So with that, that's our show. So I thank everybody for tuning in, for watching. Hopefully, if things work out and we're right and we could be alive for once at the fairgrounds in a pick 4 or pick 5, and we've gone back at Stop the Car a couple of times, we will look like the guy in this car as we're heading home from the races. Oh yeah. Ciao, ciao.
Here comes journalism, here comes sovereignty, and they square off, head into the final furlong. Sovereignty wins the Derby!
You're watching Pass the Wire TV. Hit that like button and subscribe to Pass the Wire TV. Nobody does it better.